Hi there, it's Simon Hurley from Inklips. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm excited to share an inlaid die cutting technique. However, we're going to make it a little bit more intricate by piecing a bunch of little pieces together to create a really awesome design element on your card. I'm also going to be joining along Spellbinders for their Spell Blogger blog hop. I'll have my post links down below with a bunch more information, pictures, a supply list, and also there's a couple fun giveaways along the way, and you can enter to win some really awesome prizes, so be sure to check that out after I'm done with my video. So these are the two cards we created today. I used the Ella-Fant and some bunny die sets, which I really love to create these little critters, and they're just adorable, but you also get to piece them all together to create your own fun little animals, and you can kind of create a fun scene with them as well. So I'm going to start off by sharing this Ella-Fant card since he's a little bit easier to piece together. So I'm taking the couple of dies that it takes to make up this Ella-Fant, and I'm centering them up on the front of the card on how I'd want them to be when they were all cut out and put together. I'm going to be lining them up and then creating some pencil marks exactly where I want everything to be so I can replace it and line it back up. However, you want them to be a little bit closer than you want them once they cut out because the cutting edge isn't right at the edge of the actual die. So then I'm going to tape it down with a low tack tape. I'm starting out with his head here, and I'm going to tape it down and then run it through my die cutting machine. Now you can only do one die at a time, so it's a little bit time consuming because you don't want them to be touching with each other, but it's definitely worth it in the end to get that fun, awesome look. So I'm going to put off that positive portion of the die, would cut out his head, and then this negative portion creates a little window here. So then I'm going to be adding that piece back on for his little body, and I'm using that tape back again, and I'm going to run that right through my die cutting machine. After this is all cut out, it's going to get rid of some of that shrunk detail that we just cut out, but that'll all come back later in the end, and we'll get all those details done and put right back in so that it looks like an elephant again in the end. So that cuts out the body portion so you have this nice large window, and then I'm going to add that little tail on, again making sure it really intersects with the body there because you want it to all intersect with each other and make it one big gap, and I'm running that through my die cutting machine again. Then I can pop that portion out and you have a nice little window there, which could also be a fun shaker card. Then I'm going to cut out all of these little pieces once again out of some gray cardstock, and then I'm going to cut out that little kind of splash that's in the die set as well, and I'm going to cut that out of some blue cardstock. And then I'm going to pop all those pieces out, and these are going to be the portion of the dies that go on the inside of the cardstock. Then to make the background just a little bit more interesting, I'm taking some distressed oxide and smooshing that onto my craft sheet. Then I'm going to spray it with just some water here and then start dipping my cardstock right into it. This gives a really awesome soft watercolor effect in the background, and you can continue to dip it in until you get the desired effect that you want. Later on, I'm going to show another way to add some nice color to your background using these oxides, but this is just one cool way, and you can continue to layer up that color by drying in between layers and get a really awesome fun background. After the background is complete, I'm going to be adding it right onto a top folding card base, and then I'm going to be taking some of those inside Ella-Fant portions and kind of sticking them in like a puzzle here. However, it kind of meets in the center there in a weird way and kind of overlaps on the die cuts, and I want the elephant's head to come first in the front and be the most visible thing. So I'm taking a pencil and just outlining the elephant's trunk onto the body portion there, and this makes it so that I can cut it out, so you want it to be nice and perfect around there, and then I'm going to go in with the scissors and just really fussy cut that out. Now you want to cut out more on the inside of the line than on the outside because you can always cut more out, but you can never take it back. So you just want to make sure you're not cutting too much out of that portion, and you want to make sure it's a nice snug fit. Now, even though this elephant is going to be flush with the surface of the card, we still want to add the look of dimension to it, so I'm taking some more gray distress oxide here and with a blending sponge, and I'm just going around the elephant to kind of define the edges of it and make it so that the trunk won't blend in with the body and make it look like one huge blob. I'm not really blending all the color all that much, I'm just kind of touching the sponge to the edge, and getting a nice harsh edge here is actually kind of a good thing to really define it, but you could go in and really shade the whole thing with Copic markers to get another really awesome effect. To add all the die cuts on the inside there, I'm just adding a little bit of tape runner into the window portion, and then I can stick those little die cuts right inside, and they fit perfectly like a little puzzle. And there's something just awesome about having all these pieces flush with the surface of the card. Even though it does take a little bit longer, I think it looks really awesome in the end. and then I'm just adding the little tail on there as well. I cut off a little portion of that tail just to make it fit in there. And then I'm going to take that little raindrop piece and round it with the bottom of the trunk there by cutting that little portion off to make it look like the little elephant is blowing water out of his trunk. And this is the only portion of the card that really sticks up off of it and adds some nice dimension to it to make it look like a scene is going on there. So when it's on the elephant's trunk, it just hits the surface of the card and the edges are kind of popped up on some foam tape. So these dies already have little raised surfaces where the eyes are and also around the ears as well. So I'm just going to take some Nuvo drops in black and just add some tiny drops on those eyes to make them a little bit more raised and detailed. And then I'm going to go on that water drop as well, and I'm going to go around and add some Tonic Nuvo blue drops to there. These are so much fun. They're like your own little enamel drops, except you can put them anywhere. And they're my latest obsession. They have them in a ton of different colors, which I need to get my hands on. And there's so many different finishes you can use, and they just add a little bit of extra something to every project. Then for the background, I'm adding some glossy accents to the background, which are just clear little drops, and they don't distract from the background, but you kind of notice that little detail afterwards. I'm going to kind of recap everything in the bunny card. It's a little bit more difficult to make, and I changed a couple of things, but it's still just as fun. I'm taking the different dies you need to make this bunny, and I'm lining them up exactly where I want them, again overlapping just a little bit. And then I'm going to tape down them where they need to be and run it through the die cutting machine one at a time. And I'm starting out with the body here, running that through so it cuts it right out. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the head and tape it down and cut that right out as well. Now you want to be careful with this tape just so it doesn't rip your cardstock, so I'm using some really low tack frog tape, which is super delicate on the paper, and I find it's the only tape that really works well for me. So then with these little arms, these are kind of a hard part here. I just kind of guesstimated around where I wanted them to be, and it worked out pretty well. Now to cut it on the other side, you just need to put it on the reverse side of the cardstock, and it'll cut out the opposite arm for the bunny. So I'm doing that on the other side of the cardstock, and then I'm running that right through my die cutting machine so it cuts that arm out as well. Now they're not perfect, but they're pretty close, and I loved how they turned out in the end. Then I'm going to run all those same dies through my platinum die cutting machine, and this cuts them all out really nicely out of some brown cardstock. And I'm going to just poke them out of their dies there, and then I can start on the background. So I'm using some blue cardstock for the background here, and I'm taking some broken china distress oxide, and I'm just taking a blending sponge here, and I'm going right around the inside of that window panel to kind of accentuate that and make a darker shadow on the outside there to contrast with the bunny that's going to go on the inside. So then I'm going to spray some water over top of it, which kind of brightens up that color with the distress oxides. And it's also going to add some water splotches there where it'll react with the water, and I can pick those up to make it lighter color there. This just adds a little bit more detail and interest, and it makes the card just a little bit more exciting. So I've added that onto my card base, and then I can start tracing some pieces and cutting them out to make them fit. So I'm taking that bunny's head and making that the first thing you see again. So I'm cutting out a little portion of the body there. Again, you want to cut out less than you think you need to make everything fit nice and snug. And I'm adding the bunny's head right into the card there like a little puzzle piece. And then I can cut off some of the portions on the sides of the bodies for the arms. And I want the arms to be the first thing you see again. So I'm cutting off the body instead of, you can cut off the arms if you want to as well. So I'm adding that right onto the inside there as well with some tape runner. And then I'm going to add those little arms in place, and you're finished with the bunny being inserted there, and everything is nice and flush with the surface of the card. And I'm adding a little bow tie as well on some foam tape that came from that same die set to add a little bit of dimension. I did the same thing with those Nuvo drops on the eyes and nose, as well as on the bow tie to add some kind of texture onto there and make it shiny. And that about finishes it off for today's cards. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a big thumbs up, and let me know down below in the comments which card was your favorite and if you guys want to try out this technique. On screen right now, there's 2 more of my videos I think you guys might enjoy. There's also a link to that blog post, so if you want to click that and head over to my blog, there'll be much more information there about this fun blog hop, and you can keep hopping along. If you guys liked my videos and you want to see more, click that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing, and I'll see you very soon for another card making video. Bye!